The silence in the courtroom was not the respectful hush of justice, but the suffocating stillness of a world holding its breath. Every eye, from the hardened bailiffs to the nervous journalists, was fixed on the figure at the defense table, Erika Kirk. The woman who, just months ago, had been the grieving widow, the face of conservative resilience, was now the central figure in a conspiracy trial that had ripped the political landscape apart. The new footage, captured by a lone, unauthorized camera angle that had somehow slipped past the court's stringent security, was not about the legal arguments or the prosecutor's opening statement. It was about a single, chilling moment of human collapse that instantly went viral, confirming every dark suspicion the public had harbored since Elizabeth McCoy's midnight confession. The clip, barely 10 seconds long, showed Erika Kirk's composure shattering, not under the weight of the evidence, but under the gaze of the one person she had clearly underestimated, Elizabeth McCoy herself. The prosecutor, a seasoned veteran named M.S. Davies, had been meticulously laying out the timeline of the alleged conspiracy, using the very chat logs Elizabeth had leaked. She spoke of the Puzza Throne, the coded language for power and control within Charlie Kirk's organization, and the cold, calculated timing of the assassination. Erika Kirk, dressed in a tailored, somber black suit, had maintained a mask of stoic innocence, occasionally conferring with her high-priced legal team, her expression a perfect blend of confusion and quiet suffering. She was playing the role of the victim of a malicious smear campaign, a narrative her lawyers had spent weeks crafting in the media. But then, Elizabeth McCoy was called to the stand. Elizabeth, the reluctant whistleblower, the woman who had traded her husband's freedom for the truth, walked past the defense table, her eyes meeting Erika's for the first time in public. The air pressure in the room seemed to drop. The footage begins here. Elizabeth, pale but resolute, is being sworn in. The camera focuses on Erika, whose head is slightly bowed. As Elizabeth states her name, her voice clear and steady, Erika's head snaps up. It is a reaction of pure, unadulterated shock, not the surprise of an innocent woman, but the terror of a predator who has just realized her prey is now the hunter. The viral moment is Erika's face in that instant, the carefully constructed mask dissolving into a flash of raw, animal fear. Her eyes, wide and darting, lock onto Elizabeth, and for a fleeting second, the entire courtroom saw the Erika Kirk described in the leaked chats. Calculating, merciless, and now cornered. Her lawyer immediately leans in, whispering urgently, but the damage is done. The image, a high-resolution still of that split-second expression, was already being shared across every platform, captioned simply, "The moment she knew she lost." The script of the trial itself was secondary to this silent, visceral confrontation. Elizabeth began her testimony, recounting the details of the conspiracy with a chilling, almost detached precision. She described the late-night meetings, the coded messages, and Erika's manipulation of her husband, Mikey, promising him the recognition he craved in exchange for Charlie's life. The narrative was a direct echo of the midnight confession, but now it was delivered under oath, in the hallowed, unforgiving space of a federal courtroom. Every word was a nail in Erika's coffin, yet Erika's legal team could only object weakly, their attempts to discredit Elizabeth as a scorned wife or a co-conspirator falling flat against her calm, tearless delivery. The sheer volume of evidence, the timestamps, the voice notes, the financial transfers, made her testimony unassailable. The most damning part of the first day, and the part that led to the viral footage, was the replaying of the security video of Charlie Kirk's assassination. The court had access to a cleaner, higher-quality version than the grainy clip Elizabeth had shown on her live stream. As the video played, showing Charlie's final, unsuspecting moments on stage, the courtroom was plunged into darkness, illuminated only by the screen. The sharp crack, the gasp, Charlie's violent fallout was all there, but the focus was on Mikey McCoy, standing nearby, his hand already raising his phone to his ear, his face utterly devoid of emotion. And then the audio was isolated, the faint, unmistakable whisper of Mikey into the phone, "It's done." It was at this precise moment as the prosecutor pointed a finger directly at Erika Kirk and declared she was listening to her husband die, that the viral footage captured Erika's second, more profound breakdown. She didn't scream or cry, she simply slumped, her shoulders collapsing inward as if the weight of the world, or perhaps the weight of her guilt, had finally become too much to bear. The court footage went viral not because it was new evidence, but because it was the first time the public saw the mask of the powerful, grieving widow fall away, revealing the terrified woman underneath. It was the visual confirmation that the conspiracy, once a sensational theory, was now a horrifying, undeniable reality. The moment Erika Kirk's composure fractured in the courtroom, the digital world experienced a seismic event. The 10-second clip, initially shared by a single anonymous account, became a viral phenomenon that transcended political divides and news cycles. It wasn't just a piece of evidence, it was a cultural artifact, a visual shorthand for the collapse of a carefully constructed public image. Within hours, the image of Erika's wide, terrified eyes was remixed, analyzed, and debated across every social media platform. Hashtags like #ErikaKnew and #Puzza Throne were trending globally, replacing the measured, often dry legal commentary with a torrent of raw, emotional public judgment. The footage served as a powerful, nonverbal confirmation of Elizabeth McCoy's earlier, explosive claims, providing the visceral proof that millions had been waiting for. The public, already cynical about power and politics, saw in Erika's momentary lapse not just guilt, but the ultimate betrayal of trust, a betrayal that had cost a man his life. The media's reaction was immediate and polarized. Mainstream news outlets, which had previously treated the conspiracy theories with cautious skepticism, were forced to shift their tone. The footage was undeniable. It was a moment of unscripted human drama that no amount of spin could erase. Legal analysts debated the admissibility of the footage, but for the court of public opinion, the verdict was already in. Conservative commentators, many of whom had been staunch allies of Charlie Kirk and had defended Erika as a victim, found themselves in an impossible position. Some doubled down, claiming the footage was doctored, or that Erika's reaction was simply the stress of a grieving widow being unjustly persecuted. Others, however, began the painful process of walking back their support, acknowledging that the visual evidence, combined with Elizabeth McCoy's compelling testimony, was too damning to ignore. The internal fracturing of Charlie Kirk's former political circle was now playing out in real time, a public spectacle of loyalty tested and broken. The true power of the viral footage lay in its ability to recontextualize the entire narrative. Before the court appearance, Erika Kirk's story was one of tragic loss and political martyrdom. Now, every past interview, every tearful public appearance, every statement of grief was being re-examined through the lens of her courtroom fear. Viewers pored over old clips, searching for the subtle tells, the momentary slips that might have hinted at the dark secret she was harboring. The public became a collective jury, analyzing her body language, her choice of words, and the timing of her political maneuvers following Charlie's death. The Puzza Throne, reference once an obscure detail from a leaked chat, was now being used to explain her aggressive push to take over Charlie's organization, painting her not as a successor, but as a usurper who had orchestrated her rise to power. The script of the grieving widow had been replaced by the script of the cold-blooded conspirator, and the public was devouring every page. Elizabeth McCoy's role in this digital aftershock was equally significant. Her quiet, resolute demeanor on the stand stood in stark contrast to Erika's visible panic. She was no longer just the wife of the assassin. She was the conscience of the entire saga, the one person who had chosen truth over self-preservation. Her testimony, which continued into the second day, focused on the psychological manipulation Erika had employed. Elizabeth detailed how Erika had preyed on Mikey McCoy's professional insecurities, his desire to step out of Charlie's shadow, and his misplaced belief that Erika genuinely valued his talent. This painted a picture of Erika Kirk as a master manipulator, a puppet master who used the ambition of others as a weapon. The court footage, therefore, was not just about Erika's fear of Elizabeth. It was about the moment the puppet master realized her former pawn had become the instrument of her downfall. The second moment of viral intensity came when the court heard the full, unedited voice notes exchanged between Erika and Mikey. The audio, played through the courtroom speakers, was a chilling soundtrack to the conspiracy. It was the sound of two people calmly planning a murder, discussing logistics with the same casual tone one might use to plan a business trip. The contrast between the gravity of their words and the banality of their delivery was profoundly disturbing. The voice notes confirmed the premeditation, the cold calculation, and the utter lack of remorse that had defined the plot. As the audio played, the camera, still focused on Erika, captured her closing her eyes, a single tear tracing a path through her heavy makeup. This was not the tear of a victim, but the tear of a woman confronted by the irrefutable sound of her own guilt. The public reaction was immediate, a wave of revulsion that solidified the narrative of Erika Kirk as a villain of Shakespearean proportions, a figure whose ambition had consumed her humanity. The viral court footage in its entirety had transformed a complex legal case into a simple, devastating moral drama, ensuring that the trial would be remembered not for its legal precedents, but for the moment the powerful were finally forced to face the consequences of their darkest secrets. The final moments of the court session that day were less about legal procedure and more about a public execution of reputation. The viral footage, which had captured Erika Kirk's visible breakdown, had already delivered a verdict that no jury could overturn. The defense team, realizing the catastrophic damage caused by the unscripted moment, scrambled to regain control. They attempted to cross-examine Elizabeth McCoy, painting her as a disgruntled, manipulative figure seeking revenge for her husband's impending fate. They argued that the chat logs were taken out of context, that the voice notes were ambiguous, and that Erika's reaction in court was merely the understandable emotional distress of a widow being falsely accused. But their efforts were futile. The image of Erika's face, contorted in fear and recognition, had been burned into the collective consciousness, rendering any legal defense hollow and unbelievable. The public had seen the truth, not through a lawyer's argument, but through a raw, human reaction caught on a forbidden camera. The long-term fallout from the viral footage extended far beyond the courtroom. The political organization Charlie Kirk had built, the Puzza Throne, Erika had so ruthlessly sought, began to crumble instantly. Key donors withdrew their support, citing the moral turpitude revealed by the evidence. High-profile political allies who had once stood shoulder to shoulder with Erika issued carefully worded statements distancing themselves from the scandal, emphasizing their commitment to integrity and justice. The organization's headquarters, once a bustling hub of conservative activism, became a ghost town, its future uncertain and its reputation irrevocably stained. The irony was palpable. Erika's desperate, murderous grab for control had resulted in the complete destruction of the very empire she coveted. The most profound impact, however, was the shift in the public's perception of the entire event. Charlie Kirk's assassination, initially a moment of national tragedy and political outrage, was now viewed as a cautionary tale of internal corruption. The narrative had flipped from "Who killed Charlie Kirk?" to "How did Erika Kirk get away with it for so long?" The focus shifted from the victim to the conspirators, and the viral footage served as the definitive proof that the conspiracy was real, calculated, and executed by those closest to him. It highlighted the dangerous intersection of personal ambition and political power, suggesting that the most dangerous threats often come from within one's own trusted circle. The script, therefore, was no longer just about a murder. It was about the corrosive nature of unchecked power and the ultimate price paid for a moment of supreme arrogance. As the court session adjourned, the final image captured by the viral footage was Erika Kirk being escorted out, her face shielded by her legal team, her earlier composure completely gone. She was no longer the powerful, grieving widow. She was a pariah, a symbol of betrayal. The footage had stripped away her carefully curated image, leaving her exposed to the full, unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. The unauthorized camera, a rogue element in the controlled environment of the courtroom, had inadvertently become the ultimate arbiter of truth, capturing a moment of pure, unvarnished reality that official channels would have suppressed. The footage went viral because it resonated with a deep-seated public desire for accountability, a moment where the powerful were finally shown to be vulnerable, human, and ultimately guilty. The trial would continue, and the legal process would run its course, but the public's judgment was final. The new footage of Erika Kirk in court goes viral was not just a headline. It was the epitaph for a political dynasty built on lies and ambition. It was a stark reminder that in the age of instant, unfiltered media, a single, unguarded moment can dismantle years of careful deception. The script of the Kirk conspiracy had reached its dramatic climax, not with a bang in the courtroom, but with a whimper of fear on Erika Kirk's face, a moment that will forever be etched in the digital history of political scandal. The price of the Puzza Throne was not just Charlie Kirk's life, but Erika Kirk's soul and reputation, both of which were irrevocably lost in the 10 seconds of viral footage. The truth, as Elizabeth McCoy had promised, had finally screamed.